Hey, 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 Laura J and Geordie Lishman here today to introduce a concept that may be referred to in different ways depending on the modality that you are familiar with. I would call it a healing cycle, and by German New Medicine practice, you would call it
a special biological program.
A special biological program, which is different from a natural phenomenon within the body.
Well, we have what we call biological activity, and then you have special biological programs set in place to help save your existence, or different parts of your existence anyways, yeah.
So why I wanted to have you introduce this today is because a lot of times people go into a resolution within the body that ends up feeling like things are getting worse when it's the equivalent. I always relate it to a rocket ship taking off, where it's like you go through the blast off phase where it feels really uncomfortable because you're reaching another level or a different process within the body than what you're familiar with. And so you feel like you're going to die until then it's breakthrough and you're past the turbulence of getting to the next level, and then you're there. So that would be how I would equate the healing crisis of why we get sick and then we feel better afterwards. And I've always felt it was very valuable for people to hear your perspective on this particular issue.
Yeah, from the German New Medicine point of view, it kind of goes the opposite ways. Actually, you feel really good, and then you feel real sick, and then you get better. So, and you feel really good because your body's taking up the charge of saving your existence. So essentially you have a conflict. And this is my interpretation of the German New Medicine, but you have a conflict or you have an opportunity, and they both kind of register as a similar thing. Like a lost opportunity is a conflict. So when you have a conflict or an opportunity, the body sets in motion the means to take action upon it. Right? So say you have a territorial loss. Well, you're going to get a ton of stamina to go and reclaim your territory. And then once you do, then you go into the healing phase, which makes you feel tired and sluggish, and then you could result in some kind of a heart murmur or heart attack or some kind of angina where your heart's doing some weird stuff to shake itself free of mucosation. So, yeah, because we have these two phases. In the German New Medicine, there are 5 biological laws, and the first one is the iron rule of cancer. But the second one is called the law of the 2-phase development of all sicknesses and diseases, which is what we're going to talk about, I think.
Okay.
And essentially, it starts off with some kind of a trauma or some kind of opportunity to fulfill part of your existence, and that sets off a particular set of organs. So our organs are there to keep us alive. And essentially, we have 3 major categories of that, which are basically consumption of air, water, and food is the most important, and then mating and reproduction, and then safety and protection. So let's look at the charts.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to show it to you here by flipping it. Okay, so here are some of the charts. So right here we can see that there's the, here's a good one. So here we can see the different levels of the brain. There's the ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. Those are the 3 layers of tissue that we have, embryonic tissue, that are formed and make up all the organs. If you look here, you can see all the organs and their coloring of what they're made up of. So the different organs are made up of these 3 different germ layers. And those 3 different germ layers are balanced by viruses, bacteria, and you can see viruses is in question mark, bacteria, microbes, and funguses. So this is generally what happens is the cycle, is that you're having a normal biological activity, but then this is where the trauma or the opportunity occurs, and then you're thinking about it constantly. And during this time, if you're depends on what level of tissue is affected, but generally there'll be an acceleration of growth here. So your mesoderms are going to work harder to resolve your life's problem, and then once they do, this is the resolution point, then you're going to go try to heal the body because the body's been working too hard to fix your life. That's when you'll act the viruses, bacterias, microbes, and funguses. This is when you actually start to feel sick. During this point, you feel really good. But during this point, you feel really sick. Then, in the middle of this crisis, you'll have the epileptoid crisis, which essentially is the body shaking itself free of these bacteria and funguses and stuff. So this results in cramping, headaches, migraines, heart attacks, spasms in the muscle of all kinds, any kind of twitching, sneezing, coughing, all that kind of stuff is in the healing phase. So yeah, often people think this is where they got sick, but it's actually they got sick back here. It's much like when you take a drug. You take the drug, that says, oh my God, I've been poisoned. But I feel great as the poison's being processed. As soon as the process is done, then we got to clean up the organs that processed it, and that's when you get your hangovers and you feel sick and tired.
You've been studying German New Medicine for the last 15 years or so.
Yeah, I've been definitely looking into it for the last 15 years. I haven't been studying it day for day, but you know, in some ways, yes. I've been definitely looking to see if this kind of pattern is true, and it feels very true to me now, and very normal. So, like one of the things that we would talk about when it comes to cold and flu season is that's when usually your children go back to school, and everybody says, oh, that's when bacteria get spread around, or viruses get spread around, everybody gets sick, and they bring it home and they get sick. But what we'd say is, no, your body's going, oh my God, I lost my children. In your subconscious, though you know where they are, your subconscious is still like they're not present. So your nose will start looking for them. And then once they come home, then you have a resolution, and then you'll get a runny nose.
Right.
So then they call this the flu season, and then they say that it's a virus being spread, but really it's just an emotional cycle that we all go through. Or so it feels to me.
Yeah, so energy and motion needs to move within the body, and if it doesn't, then it gets lodged into different organs that then store those emotions.
And generally you feel good when that's happening, when your emotions are getting lodged and stuck in those places. Like when you're in constant conflict, you have energy to try to fix it. As soon as you get out of the conflict and you fix the problem, then your body wants to take 5 or however long it takes, and it depends on how long you were in that conflict for. And then the epileptoid crisis, again, can be devastating if it's, like most people will die in the healing phase of things. But that's the point of life, is that once you've completed your purpose in life, then you die.
So taking it back from that dire perspective, you also relate it to the equivalent of a bowel movement and how that process cycles through, which I think is maybe more digestible for people rather than thinking, oh my God, if I go into resolution, I'm going to die, which is also going to evoke fear and other emotions that
will keep you out of resolution. But and the thing is that you want to resolve these things because that's the whole point of your existence. That's what you're working towards all the time. But when you do resolve them, expect that you're going to have some illness. And generally, you know, like everybody goes through illness, and illness eventually is what kills you. But, you know, like most illnesses are just a transitive phase to get you back into normaltonia. What you really want to do is kind of live in that normaltonia where you're like absorbing the right amount of stress and not over-stressing, because that's when you get into these larger cycles. And then like the cycles compound, so when you go through this and you have an illness at the end of it, it traumatizes you to maybe put you back into that initial state where you're, you know, ramping up for even worse illnesses. So it's good to, you know, realize that when you get sick, try to think about what was the trauma that you resolved and how long you've been carrying that trauma, and then think about carrying that trauma less in life. But, you know, like you're talking about a digestive system cycle, which is like a miniature version of a biological special program, like we call it as a biological activity. So, you know, you get, your trauma would be realizing that you're hungry, that you're going to starve or something like this. Then you get motivated to get up and find some food. And then you get the food, and then the food breaks down and you feel tired and lethargic and all this kind of stuff. And then you have a bowel movement and get rid of it. It's just a natural kind of a process in life that we have to start to really realize is happening. So when you get sick, you're actually getting better, generally.
Yeah, you're becoming more whole when you go into resolution, and I refer to it as soul fragment recall, of calling back aspects of yourself that previously were in a not now moment and now come back into the now and then need to be reintegrated in order to be embodied in a new energetic signature that we carry to then be able to contribute and do what comes after the resolution of integrating that which we went through in order to gain the lesson and extract ourselves from a not now moment.
Well, like I'm not sure what you mean by the not now moments, but I guess like if you get traumatized and you're constantly thinking about that thing that traumatized you, you have an opportunity that you want to seize and you're constantly thinking about that. You're in the moment, but you're in a moment of like, you want, you have to get. And then your body's impelled to work towards being able to do that for you. So then once you get it, then you're in the moment of having, so that you can go through a resolution. Your body can take 5 and try to fix itself. But, yeah, what was I going to say? I can't remember. There was something I had thought.
In relation to the not now moment, what I'm referring to is what you're talking about of needing to resolve something from the past. If your energy and motion was stuck in a not now because it's in a past memory that you haven't extracted your essence back from, that would be where the resolution needs to come from when we actually reintegrate the lesson from the memory so that our soul doesn't have to hold that memory open.
I'm confused and lost. I mean, you say when you're in the not now moment, you're from a trauma from the past. Okay, so the trauma from the past, if it's done actually in the past, then it's no longer a trauma and you're not being affected by it. But the trauma has to be like present. The problem is that we have traumas, and then instead of actually resolving them, because we can't maybe, because whatever circumstances don't allow us to in reality, then we just kind of pretend like it's finished. Meanwhile, the subconscious is still running the program saying, we need to do this, and you try to ignore it because you can't, because of whatever reason. So then, like, same thing when you send your kids off to school, there might be a subconscious thing going, where's the children? Get them close to us, make them safe. But then your logical mind goes, no, you can't do that now because they're gone. And then we have to wait till 4 o'clock. But the subconscious doesn't, see that. It just knows what's eminently important. So then that program runs all day, and then when they come home, you get a sniffly nose because it's finally like, oh, finally they're back with us. Right? So yeah, I see what you mean by, like, in the sense you are, not living as your, animal body would want you to.
Yeah.
You're pushing against that, and you have to come to terms with that in some resolution, which is everybody's journey.
Yeah, presence versus not now is how I equate it. So I'm trying to bring this perspective and help people hear a different scientific version of the spiritual version that I've come to through all of my journey and studies, and to find the parallels and the overlaps and then the gaps.
Well, there's definitely something that in the German new medicine we look at for initially when we're dealing with anybody who has any kind of illness, which is called the kidney connecting tubules. Because when people get feeling like, oh my God, I'm sick, there's another stress program that occurs, which is to do with the kidney connecting tubules and a primal urge to conserve all the water in the body once we've kind of been ejected from the tribe. So when you get sick, you feel like you have to isolate and you have to, withdraw from all kinds of behaviors in the social setting, and that stimulates this kidney connecting tubules, which is, if you've been cast out, you're going to try to conserve all water so you don't die of dehydration in the, desert of lost souls or kind of situation. So when you get sick and you feel, oh my God, I'm ill, I'm like, not right, something's wrong with me. I mean, when you get ill, usually that means that you fix something and this is the process to getting better. So embrace that is the real point. If you don't and you feel like you're something's wrong with you, it incurs another set of traumas which makes this water locking up. And so the water lock causes issues with this healing phase, because the healing phase is all about the water. When you're in a conflict activity, you feel pretty good to do your job, you need that energy. And then once you go into resolution, the organ needs to heal, so it inflates. This is what we call swelling, or what do you call it, inflammation. And it opens the passageways up, so there's more room for those bacteria and microbes and funguses to go in there and dissolve those extra cells created during the extra time. Then they mucosate, and they have all kinds of garbage in there, and that's when they flush. So all this water moving is real important for the healing phase, which gets locked up as soon as you feel like you've been, something's wrong with you and you need to be away from the tribe and you can cast that. So isolating people during their illnesses is actually compounding the problems.
Mm-hmm.
And if what we're saying is right, then this is why there was question marks around viruses, because these things aren't necessarily needed to be transferred in order for us to have them in us and act. Right? Like people think they catch something, but really it's just waiting inside of us to do its job once we relieve the stress that we're under.
Yeah, in my head it's just like vi-rust. Vi being life and rust being the oxidization process. So, as a wordsmith, I break things down in strange ways, and we all do it in our own way. And so today I just wanted to introduce this. Was there something else you wanted to add in?
Well, I think we said it all, or for a good introduction. I mean, there's a lot of levels to this. One level is the old brain, which accelerates its growth during the conflict activity, but the new brain deteriorates its growth during the... So there's all kinds of different things. There's a lot to look into. So if you want to find out what's going on with your sickness, you can contact a German new medicine practitioner. Best is to go through newmedicine.ca.
Newmedicine.ca is a resource you've used through your studies?
Well, it's my friend's website, and she's the head of disseminating this information for the Americas. So it's probably the best one, I think, is the most legitimate. They've just started their school, so they could actually have certified German new medicine therapists, because as at this point it's kind of a wild west, as Geord has passed away 6-7 years ago now, and he was the founder and discovered all this stuff and really forged all of this information. And now that he's gone, everybody's kind of clambering in to take his spot, but no one really can. We can just represent the information that he's given us a lot better. A lot of people are, making their own kind of stuff up, but I think that's okay. I mean, there's a lot of interpretable parts here, but some of it's not okay. Some of it really needs to be, put back into the right place. People get exaggerated sometimes with their claims of what this is about. So, newmedicine.ca, go there.
Fantastic. Geordie Lishman, Laura J, thank you very much for today. And thank you for giving this a like, a share, and leaving comments down below to let us know what this triggered in you in terms of what resonated, what didn't, what you're questioning, where you'd like to see us go in a future video, because you've got so much wisdom and insight. I'm grateful to have access to you privately for that, and then I do believe you have tremendous value, because as much as it is about representing others' information, I do believe there is great value in your presence as well in how you present it.
Well,
so
thank you. I think you have great value too.
Oh, thank
Namaste.
you. Namaste.